I'm not going to run a marathon today if I'm way out of shape. It takes some time. And the time is approximately 66 days on the low end to create and reinforce a new pattern that then starts to override, basically atrophy the old pattern.
Hey everybody, our mission here at the Heart Coherence Collaborative is to get people in touch with the healing power of the heart.
And we really need your help. Right now, only 1% of viewers subscribe. We are aiming to take that number to 6%.
The reason why we want to do that is the more people that subscribe, the more people in the world can learn the magical practice of heart coherence.
So please, help us out. If you've ever listened, if you love this message, please just take a moment to subscribe.
Thank you so much.
We love you.
Welcome everybody to the Heart Coherence Collaborative. We're really excited. We have our new friend John Assaraf joining us today. And the reason I'm really excited about this is John is the best pretty much in the world at, getting people to overcome their limiting beliefs to accomplish their dream life. So I'm very curious just to give our audience a basic understanding of how did you become this man who's just helping so many people?
Because my life was a mess.
Yes.
Everybody's story.
We can
Like,
relate.
what's funny, when I was a kid, I'll go all the way back. My parents moved from where I was born in Israel to Montreal when I was 5. I just finished kindergarten, and I was thrown into this class, grade 1, of 55 kids, mostly immigrants, who spoke every other language other than English and French. And so it was hyper confusing. And I fell 2 years behind. By the time kids were in grade 5, I was in grade 3, and I felt that I wasn't really smart. And then I would go home, show my parents my grades, and my father was a bit of a lunatic back then, and he would beat the shit out of me because I didn't do well in school. So I was dumb. I was not smart enough. And so I did a lot of illegal things. When I was 12, 13, 14, 15, I got involved in a little gang that did breaking and entries, stealing cars, drugs. We did a lot of illegal things to make some money and fit in. And so 12 to 17, a lot of trouble with school, a lot of trouble with the law. Finally left high school in grade 11, and they had a big, huge party when I left. And then I just got I went to work at a computer company's shipping department, making $1.65 an hour.
No.
And so I would, open boxes, close boxes, open boxes. And I was like, oh, I hate this. And the turning point, my brother, who was concerned for my well-being, thought I was either going to die or go to jail, because one of the members of the little gang I was in died. One went to jail. So it was possible for me. He said, hey, why don't you come from Montreal to Toronto and let's have a weekend together. My brother's 9 years older than I am. And he said, I want to introduce you to this one guy. And he's a very successful entrepreneur, a really kind guy. My brother was a tennis pro, and he was teaching this guy tennis. And he said, maybe he can help you. And he's got a real estate office, and he always hires people, and blah, 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 blah. So I took the train from Montreal to Toronto, meet this guy for lunch. And during lunch, he says to me, why are you getting into so much trouble? I don't know. Like, yeah, I know, but you're doing it. Why are you getting into trouble? I said, well, I don't know. I got a group of friends, and we want to make some money. He says, but you can have a better group of friends. You can make a lot of money not doing illegal things. I was like, yeah, sure. I'm listening to him as going in one ear and out the other. And he said to me, what do you want to achieve? Like, talk to me. What would you like to achieve? I said, well, I'd like to move out of my parents' house. I'd like to buy my own car. And I'd like to get a job that pays more than $1.65 an hour. And he says, okay, I understand. They said, but do you have any bigger goals and dreams? And I go, no, no. Hey, do me a favor. And I said, what? His name was Mr. Brown. My brother was sitting right next to me, and he gives me this document. And the document was, and just I'll age myself right now. I'm 63. So, but I was 19 at this point. It was April of 1980, just to give you perspective, right? And he gives me this document as the 1980 goal setting guide. He says, please open it and just answer some of these questions. So I opened it and I look at the first question, true story. It says, at what age do you want to retire? What? I'm 19, retire. Nobody in my family is retired. My father's a cab driver. My mother still works. I asked him, what am I supposed to write down over here? And he says, pick a number. I said, well, I don't know. Is it 45 okay? And he goes, sure, put down 45, put down 45. Second question, upon retirement, how much net worth do you want to have? Excuse me, sir. What does net worth mean?
Yeah.
He explains the net worth to me. And I said, well, what am I supposed to put in that box? And he goes, pick a number. I said, well, I know a million's a lot. Is 3 million okay? He says, sure, put 3 million down. So he asked me, this paper asked me all these questions. What age do you want to retire? Who do you want to help? Where do you want to travel? What kind of car do you want? What kind of home do you want? What kind of clothes do you want? What kind of, all these questions. And I answered this: Italian clothes, 4-bedroom house, travel the world first class, retire my parents, blah, 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 blah. Give him back the document. And he looks at it, he goes, now, if you could achieve this, would that make you feel proud of yourself? I go, oh my God, like that's like a dream life. It's like the lifestyle of the rich and famous. And he says, well, yes, it is. And it's all achievable. He says, I'm going to ask you one question. And the answer to this question will determine whether you, young man, he says to me, will achieve all of these things. I'm like, one question, sir? He goes, yeah. He says, here it is. He leans in and he goes, are you interested? And he points at these answers, at achieving all of these things? Or are you committed to achieving them? So I'm sitting there and, like a little monkey, I'm scratching my head going like, interested or committed? I said, excuse me, sir, what's the difference? And he leans in again. He says, son, if you're interested, you'll do what's easy and convenient. If you're interested, you'll keep telling people the same story you told me about your school and your father and your drug selling and your this selling and that stealing, and you left high school and you're not good in math because you failed it, and you're not good in English because you failed that. And you'll keep using your story to keep recreating your future. He said, but if you're committed, you will upgrade your identity. And I remember he pointed at his head. He says, you'll upgrade your beliefs, your habits, your knowledge and skills until they match the destiny and the goals you have on this piece of paper. He goes, so now that you know, which are you, interested or committed? And I don't know why, but out of my 19-year-old mouth, I said, well, in that case, sir, I'm committed. And he reached out his hand and he put my hand in his. He says, in that case, I will be your mentor. I go, wow, thank you, sir. What's a mentor? And he explained to me what a mentor was. Then I moved from Montreal to Toronto. I got into real estate school May 20th, 1980, graduated on June 25th, 1980, 5 weeks later, had a real estate license. I passed the test with his help. He offered me a job for zero money, zero, on commission only. But then every day he had me review the goals that I wrote. He had me write out what would I need to believe in order to make these goals a reality. I am so happy and grateful for the fact that I am more than smart enough. I'm so happy and grateful for the fact that I can learn whatever I choose to. I'm so happy and grateful for the fact that I am good enough, smart enough, worthy enough, and I have everything it takes to achieve this goal. I wrote down these affirmations, which he told me is what they were back then, that I was affirming in my mind these new beliefs that would then drive my behavior. And I remember, like it was yesterday, I remember reading these things, reading my vision and goals every day, running my hands across it, because he said it would send a signal from my fingers to my brain and it would activate my imagination center. And I remember, reading these things and doing these things, and I read these goals. I'm so happy and grateful I'm making $10,000 a month. That was my first goal. And I hear this voice in my head that goes, bullshit, no, you're not. But he taught me how to affirm things in my mind. He taught me how to create a belief. And even if a belief wasn't truthful at the time, he says, neither was any one of your other beliefs that you believe, because you weren't born with any beliefs. That was the beginning, literally 43 years ago, of my transformation. And because I changed in 6 months, I made $31,000. By upgrading my knowledge, skills, belief, and self-image and identity, I made $150,000 in the next 12 months as a 20-year-old kid.
Mm.
So I was a believer that this could work. And then I've been studying the neuromechanics of exactly what happened to me for over 40 years now.
Beautiful. Thank you.
But that's the beginning of it that I haven't shared with a lot of people, but it's nice.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't heard the whole story. I would love to hear, you've been studying this for so long.
Yeah.
You could imagine your great-grandchildren that you'll never meet.
Hey, come on.
Tell them a few things.
Yeah.
Or your great-great, we'll say great-great.
I know.
And you could tell them a few things from all of your journey of studying all of this. What would you write down on a piece of paper to tell them?
Watch what you say to yourself because you'll believe it. Manage your emotions, and you can because you can learn how. Create a vision that you don't know how to achieve and grow into it. Set some goals that stretch you, but then back it up with how specifically will you achieve them. So come up with a plan to achieve them, and then be prepared to change how you're going to achieve it 1,000,000 times along the way, because it never happens exactly the way you expect it to.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I wish I wrote that down, but when we watch this back. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm curious with, how great you are at helping people accomplish their
Thank you.
goal. What struggle do you see most with the average human being today, overcoming limiting beliefs?
Sure. Well, let's start with a fundamental truth first that I think everybody needs to just really grasp and understand. Let's use cars, a car. A car in Alaska, a car in Antarctica, a car in China, a car in the United States. Let's say a gas car. Functionally, it works the same, right? You have tires, engine, brakes, wires, plumbing, electrical, radio, windows, either they're cranked or go up and down. Electrical car functionally, anywhere in the world, functionally works the same. Part one. Part two. Every brain functionally works the same. Your brain, my brain, Hitler's brain, Genghis Khan's brain, Oprah's brain, Richard's brain, Meryl Streep's brain, Tom Hanks' brain functionally works the same. So functionally, how you see is how I see. Functionally, how my visualization center works, that's how yours works. Functionally, how my emotional centers work, yours works the same way. Functionally, every brain works the same. So the question now becomes, how did you and I and everybody who's listening or watching start to believe what we believe? And then what is a belief in the brain? So I believe I am good enough. Another person says, I don't think I'm good enough. I believe I am worthy. Another person says, I'm not worthy to achieve that. I believe I can figure this out. Oh my God, this is so hard. I can't figure it out. Like, where do we develop our beliefs? And is there a point in our life where those beliefs, are created? And then how do they get reinforced? So first and foremost, none of us were born with any beliefs, not a good one or a bad one. None of us were born with a self-image or self-worth. I'm spectacular. I'm a piece of shit. None of us. None of us were born with any habits. None of us were born with any fears. But the way that the brain works is in the early imprinting years, the modeling years, the reinforcement experiential years, the things that we learn to believe, the things that we learn to fear, the things that we learn to believe and think about ourselves just get reinforced. And all that means from a neuroscience perspective is those brain cells of yours and mine and everybody else, they were firing and then they were creating connections. The brain cells that fired and wired together and were reinforced move from a part of the brain called the hippocampus into the cerebellum. So kind of like short-term stimuli, short-term memory, into long-term habits. So then those habits are reinforced 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and they become like a highway system instead of a little dirt road. So when we talk about belief, limiting belief, empowering belief, constructive, destructive, right? Negative, positive, whatever you want to label it, it's nothing more than a pattern in the brain that's been reinforced. So let's understand that first. So then the next question goes, okay, if there's a pattern in the brain that's been reinforced, is there a way to like deactivate it from working automatically, which is the brain's way of conserving energy? And the answer is, yeah, we've learned some new stuff. So the pattern is there to conserve energy, and it doesn't care whether it's a good one or bad one. It's just there to conserve energy. So if we now say, hey, I believe X, and X is not serving me well, it's not helping me lose weight and keep it off, it's not helping me have a great relationship, it's not helping me make more money, it's not helping me. Well, you're not a tree based on what we've discovered in the last 20 to 25 years. We can fire brain cells, right? Refire brain cells, and we can deliberately rewire them ourselves. So how does that work? Well, if you've got a muscle, right, and you go to the gym and you do, let's say, bicep curls day one, they do 5 pounds. 5 reps, 5 pounds. You've just built a little bit of a muscle, right? And then you go the next day or 2 days later or 2 days later, 2 days later, you start to build that muscle. So the muscle that was weak becomes stronger. So in the brain, we can actually say, okay, in the past, I used to believe blank, and now I'm choosing to believe, and let's name the polar opposite. And now I'm choosing to believe I'm good enough, smart enough, worthy enough, capable enough, can learn enough, can make enough, can do this and do that. So I can say in the past, I used to believe this, which is now an instruction to our brain to take what is there, what I actually do believe. Like I said, I used to believe this in the past, and now I'm choosing to believe this and reinforce this and behave in ways that align with this. So now I'm giving my brain something to work with, because our brain, especially the subconscious, doesn't know whether these beliefs are good or bad. Consciously, we know, but at a subconscious level, it's just software. It's like me talking to my computer right now. Hey, I don't like the software that, no, I got to go and reprogram it. So think of rewiring the brain as a deliberate renovation, right? And we might keep some of the walls, but we might move some. So first, there's nothing wrong with you as a human being. Your brain is working the way it's supposed to. You might be afraid of snakes when somebody else wants to take a selfie with them. You might be petrified, of flying. You might be petrified of jumping out of a plane, and some people want to go on with wingsuits. So it's not the thing you're afraid of, but it's the meaning or the experiences that have been wired in the brain that causes the automatic electrical and neurochemical release that causes a feeling. So we always find what we believe. We always reinforce what we believe. And so the question is, do I have some beliefs that are limiting me? And we all do. As I said, do I want to keep them, or do I want to create and reinforce new empowering ones? And so here's where it gets a little bit tricky for most people. We live in a fast food society. Like I'm busy. Like, what? Give me something to eat fast. And the brain, okay, we have an ancient brain in a modern world. So we know that from a neuroscience perspective, no differently than, if my bicep is weak, I'm not building a bicep today unless I have surgery. So it takes a bit of time. I'm not going to run a marathon today if I'm way out of shape. It takes some time. And the time is approximately 66 days on the low end to create and reinforce a new pattern that then starts to override, basically atrophy the old pattern. So I want to create a new pattern by spaced repetition using a variety of techniques, just like if you're going to build your bicep muscle or your cardiovascular system. You might walk, you might do some stairs, you might do some squats, you might do some Pilates, you might do some yoga, you might do a variety of different things to strengthen that part of you. Well, with the brain as well, if we come at it from a variety of different angles and we reinforce it, because our brain wants to conserve energy, it resists on the front end. But whatever we override for a week, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, our brain says, hey, you're spending a lot of energy doing this. Let me just recalibrate the process and I'll automate it for you. And now I will build you. So with all my students, I tell them, give me 100 days of a little bit of brain training every day, just a little bit. And if I can get you to start training your own brain, then your brain will train you. But most people are like, like planting a seed and go like, where's the tree? Like, where's the tree? Well, it takes a little bit of time. You need roots. The roots need to grow. Then, needs to sprout. Then photosynthesis takes over and the tree gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because of the process. And A, most people don't know the process. And then B, most people are impatient.
Thank you.
There's as deep of a answer I can give you in a short time.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I liked the thing that you said where it was, I believed this in the past and I'm choosing to believe this now. That seems very effective because you're not saying anything that's not true to your brain.
That's exactly right.
And I know people have different feelings about affirmations, especially when you really don't believe them. So can you talk about how to get around that when you have an extreme amount of resistance to something new that you're wanting to program in? Do you have any
Sure.
That's obviously a bit of a good thing where you're talking truly.
Yeah, one of the things that I love to share with people, number one is, and I'm going to go back to weight training, is resistance normal when you reach a threshold? Well, what do we know about resistance? Well, we know that if we can get to that resistance point and just go a little bit more, we've just increased capacity, right? So if we think about resistance and stress, what does stress really mean? It means that the demand has exceeded the current capacity. That activates the stress circuit. It's a signal. Well, we also know that there's another part of the brain, the side of the brain, that when we've reached that capacity and we override it and do a little bit, we've just built that muscle. And then we release dopamine, we release adrenaline, we do the thing, we have the motive for the action. It's the dopamine anticipation of a result and a little bit of adrenaline to do the thing that actually expands capability. And what happens? We do something we didn't do. So whenever I teach my students, I say, listen, as you're doing my inner sizes through the app or whatever it means, you might have this self-talk. Right? So this isn't true. You aren't good enough. You aren't lean and skinny. I said, that's okay. Don't be worried about the self-talk. We have 6,200 thoughts a day. 80% are negative for the average person. And the reason I have these images behind me, there's an Frankenstein's monster part of the brain. But we also have an Einstein genius part of the brain. Frankie's monster is always going, but what if you fail? What if this isn't true? What if negative, 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 negative? That's that little critical voice we have on our shoulder, inside our head. So listen, if you're doing your affirmations and you think of yourself as a farmer and you're planting these affirmations, affirming these new beliefs in your mind because you want those to grow. If you hear this little voice in your mind saying, that's not true, you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, this will never happen for you, you're blah, 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 negative, 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 say, next thought, next thought. Our brain is supposed to do that because we are wired for homeostasis and comfort zone. We're wired for that. And so the way that it does that is through rationalizations. But if you think about the word rationalizations, we tell ourselves rational lies. So I have to go to a higher order of thinking and saying, when I want to change self-talk, emotions, behaviors, beliefs, habits, I will be met with resistance, either through emotions. I don't feel like doing it. Great. Hear that you don't feel like doing it, and now learn to override, say, I know, but you're going to do a little bit anyway. You can either listen to your brain doing its thing, or you can use the higher self to be aware I don't feel like doing it. I know. I cannot tell you how many times and days for years. Like I exercise about 6 days a week. I'm tired in the morning. It's like tired. Don't feel like doing it. So I know you don't feel like doing it, but get your Assaraf off and go do it. I still have some negative self-talk. I still have doubts. I still have fears. I still have all of that. But that's just normal because I understand a little bit of what's happening in here and in here. So I do not want the mechanics of how my brain works, whether it's the genius Einstein part of the brain or Frankie's monster, which is actually one of your best allies to keep you safe, to control my life. They're no different than a radar in a car. If you're too close to another car, beep, 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 beep. If you don't have enough gas in your tank, flashing light comes on, right? If your back trunk is open, light pops up. You don't hit the light with a hammer. You are aware the light's on. The negative self-talk light is on. Okay, I'm not my self-talk. I have this voice I'm not my emotions. I have emotions. I'm not how I feel. I have feelings. So when we understand what's causing the signal, the self-talk that's negative to hop on, now I can just go override. I know right now you don't feel like you're good enough. And now because you're doing these affirmations and you're emotionalizing and you're taking action, you're going to feel good enough, more than good enough every single day from now on. And that's what I want you, my beautiful brain and body, to focus on. Wow, I can actually talk to my brain. Yeah, you're not your brain. Your brain is an organism. People think it's an organ. I think because it's growing and alive, it's an organism, but your heart's an organ, right? But it has intelligence, right? So no differently than, certain monks with certain breathing techniques, and maybe even like Wim Hof breathing, right? You can go up at 15,000 feet where it's freezing cold, and you could be sitting in your shorts. You can self-regulate. So first, we want to self-regulate self-talk. Next, we want to learn how to self-regulate emotions, which trigger feelings. Then we want to self-regulate behaviors, and we have to give ourselves a command and follow through to completion. And if we can't do that, we can't achieve much. So with my kids, a dog, any conditioning begins with micro commitments to completion. Micro commitments to completion. So we lower the resistance, we do a little bit, we build the muscle, then we keep building. And once we build the habit will build us.
That's awesome. We recently shared one of your programs with the Heart Coherence Collaborative, and they all loved it. So thank you. It really feels good when we get that feedback from our community. They love somebody. So for anybody in our community that hasn't experienced any of your programs, I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about those programs and the structure of how it's accomplishing everything you just talked about.
Sure. So I've got a variety of different programs. I can start with my Inner Size app.
Yeah.
So there are a variety of different ways to access this subconscious programming or condition that we have, whether it's through visualization in first person or third person, affirmations, using a variety of different language patterns that activate different parts of the brain. So I'll give you an example. If I say an affirmation, I'm so grateful that it's a fact that I am blank. There's a part of our brain that believes facts. If I say, I'm so grateful that I always feel blank, I activate the emotional circuit in the brain, right? So if I'm listening to affirmations in first person, third person, if I'm listening to it with different language pattern with the same affirmation, I am wiring or firing and wiring the affirmations in the same way. So there's about 8 or 9 different methods we use, whether it's neurolinguistic programming, mental contrasting, whether it's cognitive behavior techniques. I'm agnostic to which technique works best. I want the result for myself and my students. So the inner sizes are to retrain your brain around health, wealth, relationships, career, business, sales, leadership, and I have over 550 of those. But then everything that I do, other than train your subconscious mind, is also upgrade knowledge and skills. Now, people ask me, well, why is that so important? Well, I said, well, let's say you believe that you can achieve something, but you lack how to. then your brain says you believe it, but then it has doubt and uncertainty. And a brain with doubt and uncertainty is a brain in fear. And a brain in fear deactivates the motivational circuit. In the brain, we have 3 core networks, like computer networks. We have 3 core networks and dozens of different circuits like light switches, right? So we have fear circuit, motivational circuit, all right, self-doubt circuit, anxiety circuit. And those circuits turn on or off based on the external stimuli, the meaning that our subconscious has around that stimuli, and then it elicits a behavior. Take action, don't take action, move towards, move away, protect, or proceed. So these are just things that are going on at lightning speeds. So I always have the brain training, the upgrading of knowledge and skills of self, but also around the thing that you want to achieve. Like if you want to win the game of money, well, you need to learn how to earn more money. If you want to win the game of money, you need to learn how to manage the money that you've got coming in. And there's systems and processes for all this. But you also need to learn how to get out of debt or use debt as leverage. Well, you also need to learn how to protect your wealth, right? So it's earn, manage, invest, protect. And most people, for example, in investing, there's 3 categories investing, falls into. Some people are gambling, some people are speculating, and then some people who know what the heck they're doing, they're actually investing. But people confuse gambling from investing. So they just lack the knowledge and skill. So they lose because they don't know how to do the critical thinking if you really want to be an investor. Now, you could have an investor that's also speculating, but you're not going to have an investor that's a gambler. Gambling is gambling, investing is investing. So I like to teach people, whether it's winning a game of money or winning a game of business. So I have a coaching program for money. I've got a coaching program for business. The Innersize app is separate in the App Store, innersize.com. But in business, most people, if I said to them, show me your lead generation system. They go, what do you mean? I go, well, a system. Like, how do you get prospects? How do you qualify prospects? Show me your selling techniques and process, and then show me your nurturing plan for people who don't buy. I don't have that. Oh, okay, and you're wondering why you're failing because you need a system. Show me, a system for different parts of your business. And most people are not thinking in systems. I was one of them. I was like I'm like a visionary. But I was a visionary without systems is somebody with big hopes and dreams and no success. Right? So every goal that you and I want to achieve, I don't care if it's health goal, relationship goal, career goal, business goal, money goal, every goal we want to achieve, for most of us, the path, the system is already available. Think about it, right? You want to make 100 grand? We know how to do that. Even as an employee, as a business owner. You want to make $100,000 in a week? We know how to do that. But do you have the beliefs, the self-image, and the skills and the habits to do it? Right? Because the dreaming part is easy.
Yes.
Right? The vision and the goals is easy. Let me show something with you. I have something that I teach. I'll show you this thing. The 5% over here, that's what our vision and goals are worth. Like it's worth 5% of the 100. The next ring is the 15%. How am I going to achieve these vision and goals? Like, give me the plan. Like, if this was the house that I want to build, these are the plans for the house to build it. So I got 20%. But then the game is won or lost here. My ability to take action until I achieve it and tweak and adjust and tweak and adjust. And most people have this. They have some of this, some of that. And in life and success, you're either going to do none of what it takes, some of what it takes, most of what it takes, or all of what it takes. Which bucket do you fit in? Some, none, all, most? And when you are committed, going back to where we started, you do all of what it takes.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So we would love to have you back on sometime.
We could talk forever.
Yeah, this was absolutely amazing. And yeah, actually, last thing I wanted to ask you about is you have a conference where you invite all these cool speakers in and you share about this. Could you just speak about that before we head out? Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been so into the brain,
Yeah.
I created something called the Brain-a-thon, where we bring leading experts, today's leading experts on beliefs, on habits, on self-sabotage, on procrastination, on overcoming traumas, on like what is really holding you and me back. There's only four things. It's fears, self-esteem, self-image, limiting beliefs, or lack of knowledge and skills. If we have those four, we can take action. So I bring these experts together to do a conference, and people can sign up for free, and we introduce them to these different world-renowned experts, and they watch me, they watch them, interview them. We do some trainings, and then if people want to go deeper, we show them how to go deeper into the work to achieve their life's goals and dreams and more of their potential, and to shatter their limitations and get rid of the stuff that's holding them back.
Awesome. Well,
That's
thank
so
you
cool.
so much for coming on, John. This has been
Thank you.
a pleasure. And if there's any way we can ever support you, please let us know.
Thank you. I appreciate that and look forward to supporting you too as well. You guys are doing great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're sending love to everybody.
Thanks, everybody. This interview is part of our 30-day Heart Coherence Challenge.
During these challenges, we send you a heart coherence meditation every day for 30 days, each designed to bring powerful healing benefits.
Throughout the event, we also release incredible interviews with guest speakers who inspire and uplift, like the one you're listening to right now.
If you would like to join a future challenge, go to www.heartcoherencecollaborative.com and register now. The link is in the description.
We're sending you love and hope you join us for the next challenge. We love you.